Thank you all very much. I have to confess, I've never really done one of these after dinner talks before, and have always wanted to, and you can hear the sort of gentle click of glassware in the background and people talking about the mismatched orders that they've been eating all evening. And I know that it is customary in a situation like this for the speaker to open with a joke. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. I have no brain for jokes. I remember the last joke that I was told, and no other joke. And the last joke that I was told was a dirty joke. I'll tell you the punchline. She nearly pulled my ears right off. The title of tonight's talk is The Power of Sharing. And so to start off with, I'd like to introduce you to Phoebe. Phoebe is 5 years old. She's just leaving pre-kindy. And last week, as she's just leaving pre-kindy, before she went off on holidays with her father, she got a report card. And her father dutifully, because he is obsessively documenting every aspect of his child's life, dutifully created a beautiful little graphic display and mailed it off to all the friends and family. And I got the report card just like all the friends and family did. And I was drawn instinctively, because I was working on this talk, to the line, shares toys and materials, which has the notation next to it, at times has difficulty. So she's really good and really rounded in all areas except one, sharing. Now, let's sit for a minute and think about what this means. This means that if she's playing with a toy during playtime and someone comes along and asks to use it, she's probably not all that good at handing it over. There may be a tug of war, there may be tears, who knows. But we know that this is the case. Now, at the same time, I know Phoebe. I'm going to see Phoebe in 3 weeks when I go to New England and hang out with all of them. And I know that if I ask Phoebe what she's been up to, she's going to start telling me what she's up to, and she's going to share what she's been doing, and she's going to share, and she's going to share, and she's going to share, until I'm driven completely to distraction, because you know how 5-year-olds are. When you start them up, when they start talking about what's going on in their lives, well, it's a completely different thing. And we consider both of these things sharing, and yet we have different meanings for them. In one case, we're talking about sharing atoms, things that are made out of real things. So whether that's a doll, or a toy of some sort, or even dinner. And then we have sharing bits, sharing information. And we know that a 5-year-old needs carefully to be taught to share atoms. We know this absolutely. But yet we know that a 5-year-old does not need to be taught to share bits. That this is something that they absolutely understand completely. And right now, just now, we are sitting on an amazing cusp, because all of us, all together, all at once, have come into possession of an amazing machine which has this amazing ability to share bits. Now, you hear a lot about the internet, you hear a lot about networks. The only thing that a network does, the only thing that a network can do, is share things. It makes copies of things and shares them around. When I'm talking to a web server out on the web, my computer is asking for a copy. It's asking for the web server to share what's on that server with me so that I can see the web page. It's the only thing that networks can do. And so that's really what we're talking about here. We have built the ultimate sharing machine. Now, that ultimate sharing machine which all of us are using is really, in terms of our common experience, not even 15 years old. But it's an incredibly powerful piece of equipment. And like any powerful piece of equipment, it takes time for us to actually get used to learn all of the things that this machine can be used for. And 15 years, ladies and gentlemen, isn't nearly enough to figure out what we can use this amazing sharing machine for. Let me give you an example from history. That is a steam engine. That's a steam engine circa 1730, 1740. We don't see steam engines anymore. Steam engines have been displaced on one side by the internal combustion engine that we use in all of our cars, and on the other side by the electric motor. And there are electric motors absolutely everywhere in the world. But the steam engine is still the archetypal technology of the industrial era. It is the technology that kicked off everything that we know of in the modern world. And you know what the steam engine was invented? It was invented to pump water out of mines. It was another 100 years before someone said, you know, if we stuck some wheels on that steam engine, we could go somewhere with this. 100 years between the invention of the steam engine and the fact that we could have a steam locomotive and we could have railroads. 100 years before the penny dropped. And it was another generation before someone took a look at the locomotive and said, wait a minute, we can stick a shovel on that, and we can make a steam shovel. And it was another 50 years before someone said, wait, we could make that independent, and you get the bulldozer. And yet all of these things follow one after another after another. There's a through line here. There's a through line that tells a story. And when you get to the bulldozer, you now get to a device that completely shaped everything we know about the world. Because everything in the world that we see when we look out of the landscape, unless we're in the deep bush that has never been touched by a human hand, it's been touched by a bulldozer. It has shaped the world. So, tonight, after this introduction, I want to draw you another through line. I want to draw you a through line from our immediate past into this incredibly unbelievable present, because sharing has changed absolutely everything, and it has changed everything just as much as the steam engine did before.